Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. My guest today is Heidi Powell. She is the former co-host of Extreme Weight Loss. She has so much to say about it, what she's done, the impact she's had with her clients, really the changing of the mindset that so many people have to go through in order to make that kind of a transformation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's an awesome episode. This episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. Entrepreneurial.
We got some really big things coming.
You have to have the willingness.
It's an A or B.
Try and use it as a tool.
This is phenomenal.
All details make up a person.
It's what we believe in the industry.
Heidi Powell.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome in.
I've been really well.
Nice.
I mean, it's like, it depends on the day is the actual true answer. Some days are really great and some days are hard, but this is what it's like to be a human. So
Amen to that.
But I
Absolutely.
would not trade my life for anybody else's. So I guess the answer is I've been fantastic.
That's great. I love that. So true.
Thank
A lot
you.
of people don't know we're neighbors.
Isn't that nuts? If you know where he lives, don't come find me.
Almost like really close. I remember the first time someone told me, I was like, no way. But
so
there's a lot
crazy.
of like big name fitness people around here.
Are there?
In this, yeah.
See,
Oh yeah.
I'm in my own bubble with 4 kids and life just being crazy and trying to keep up. I don't even know who's around here. I hardly know my next door neighbors. It's bad.
I know mine. They know me.
They don't.
They don't
His house
know
lights
me.
up like a Christmas tree all year.
Especially at night, like
Does it
glows.
really?
Well, we have the whole back place has like gemstone lights. You know the ones everyone's got on the front of their house?
Yeah.
So I have all of those color coded to the murals around the walls.
Really?
So the whole place kind of glows.
I don't know how I haven't seen this. So I go on walks, obviously, around here.
Sure.
I don't know how I haven't seen
Well, from the
light.
front, I mean, if you think about what you saw when you
Yeah.
pulled up, intentionally, we kept it very closed off. I
Yeah.
didn't want any problems with
HOA issue.
HOA, neighbors, none of that. I just
Yeah.
wanted to keep it very
Yeah.
easy, very non-invasive. From the front,
is what
bland
you
and
said.
boring. Exactly. I wanted to keep it very
Pleasantville on the
low
front.
key. I didn't want to bug anybody. I didn't want anybody, and I didn't want anybody knowing like what we had in mind. It's
I think
just,
that's good.
Just for guests,
You gotta keep it quiet.
Absolutely.
Surprise them all.
So,
I
Heidi,
was surprised in a good way walking
Yeah.
in the door. Yeah.
yeah. So at the beginning of every episode, I
Okay.
always like to hand it over to the guest and let you give us a brief introduction about yourself, how you got into this
man.
industry.
Okay.
Fitness is, of course, your forte, but where did that all start?
So this is a good question. And let me just prep you guys. I can talk for a long time.
Bring it.
So actually, fitness runs in my blood. My parents were both big time into fitness. My dad was a big, scary looking bodybuilder type guy. And my mom was just this really cute muscle Barbie growing up, which I'll say did create an eating disorder in me because I thought in order to be enough and to be loved, I had to look a certain way. But I did grow up going to the gym very early in the morning, and naturally one of my first jobs, not my first job, but one of my first jobs out of high school was a trainer. So I was a trainer at the LA Fitness over on, now it's TG, the gym or whatever, right? But that used to be an LA Fitness on Gilbert and Southern. So that was my first training job. And I hated it. I hated training people in person because I was so young. Now I know. I was so young and I was struggling so badly with my own eating disorder at the time that I couldn't possibly help other people until I helped myself. And I was frustrated because people would show up at the gym. I'd tell them what to do. And I, would only have them for that 1 hour of that 24 or 48 hours. And then they'd come back. So I couldn't get people to lose weight. I couldn't get them to see success. I was 18 and I had a journey myself that I had to go on. And it included healing. And so I actually left the training industry and I went into real estate. So I would say I'm actually probably more business minded. It's just my brain. I put together puzzles. I'm not creative like this. This is not me. I'm very methodical and strategic and I like fixing things. And so it's naturally, real estate was great for me. Was in loans and ended up doing fix and flips. And that's what I was doing for years, supporting my family. I had kids. I was rehabilitating my mind and my emotions and my eating disorder at the time. I still did run neighborhood fitness groups because fitness, whether I was training people professionally or not, it was always a staple in my life. Always has been, always will be. I had what I did professionally that I actually loved, that brought in the money. It was great. And then I had what I did for fun, for passion on the side that actually kept me fit, made me feel good, was part of my recovery. Then I met Chris. So marriage, divorce. I met Chris a year after my divorce. Let me not tap the table. And when I first started helping Chris, I was not in fitness. I mean, I was fit. I worked out every day. It was what he was most attracted to, actually.
Was it that you were not professionally a part of the fitness community?
That I was fit and I knew how to deadlift. So actually he said when he knew he liked me was when he saw my deadlift form that he didn't have to teach.
I love that.
And then when he knew he wanted to marry me, it was when he saw my mom and dad and the genetics that I have. So he was very deep.
Yeah.
And then when he knew he wanted me in his life forever. No, I'm kidding. But actually what he and I did together, we met, we were best friends, and he had just moved out of his car. Did you guys hear that whole story when he was on your podcast?
I don't think so, no.
He is a dreamer, and he's the most incredible dreamer. He truly is. He always said he wanted to be the Ty Pennington of weight loss. And he enrolled me in this dream when we met. We met at a self-improvement seminar. And he was telling me what he wanted to do, what he wanted to be, who he knew he was at his core. And he was currently at the time working on an online, it was Reshape the Nation, an online fitness program, which was newer back then. There weren't a ton of them. And he had just moved out of his car. He was sleeping on people's couches and he had a place. Someone was giving him money to train the guy so Chris could have money for rent, like to actually rent a place. Chris's business was rather messy. He hadn't filed taxes in 4 years. His customer service emails were horrendous, and things were messy and hard for him because he was such a dreamer, and he'd kind of surrounded himself with people who all wanted a piece of what he was building. Because you meet Chris and you know he's special and different.
Yes.
Awesome,
Oh, yeah.
You know?
100%.
And people did. He had a ton of people who had met him and just attached contractually to him. I tend to be kind of a protector and a provider by nature, which is really odd. And so I was doing home loans and fix and flips at the time. So I made my own schedule, and I would actually work from his house and I would help him. And
because you were so systematic, you have a different brain.
Very much so.
It's like Eli working with me. It's very similar. Yeah.
And I'm a fixer, and I saw something that was so beautiful and messy, and I wanted to help fix it. And soon after, like a litigation came upon him, and it was a hard thing for him and for me, because he doesn't like people to be mad at him.
Right.
I thrived. I was like, I'll stay up all night doing the emails, dealing with attorneys. And so then over time, I just became his manager. I helped him with stuff. And then he wanted to create a TV show. An opportunity came up, and I was just his assistant / manager. Created the TV show.
Extreme Weight Loss.
Extreme Weight Loss
Yes.
is the name of the TV show. So I might have done like a few videos. I was his like fitness model for different things, but I was in no way a coach or a trainer at the time. And then, we got the show, and I became his entertainment manager, which is what I was. I dealt with the attorneys, the agents, all of that stuff. I finance everything. And I also simultaneously was popping out babies. So we were married, pregnant, having babies. And what happened is the first season, Chris had only ever done one extreme transformation before the show. One person, he helped lose 400 pounds over the course of like 20 months.
Whoa.
Yes. The guy was 650 pounds.
Yeah.
And we had done a couple documentaries with TLC, which was really awesome. And that's how there was traction for a TV show. And so Chris knew someone, whatever, created a show. And then ABC, who won the battle of the show, was like, okay, you did one. We want to do 8 per season. So 8 at a time. So Chris had 8 people living around the nation that he would have to fly to. His wife is pregnant, right? And he would have to... Shooting a TV show is a job in and of itself. With the media and the camera, you don't really have much time to train. So Chris is juggling 8 massive transformations. He's the face of the show and can't do it. And he's stressed. And so very shortly after the show started, like 2 months, I mean, I was his life coach for 2 months. And then I was like, okay, send him to me. I'm a fixer. And so we started sending people to Arizona to live in my house with me and my, at the time, 2 kids and pregnant belly. And they slept in my kids' beds, and I can figure anything out.
These 600-pound people came and lived and slept in your kid's bed and
they were losing weight, but yes.
Right.
And so
So you would coach them on, I presume, diet, exercise, everything.
Yes.
Like
and
you would life coach them.
That's it. And I know how, even though I know exactly how to eat to lose weight. I know Chris's method, right? And then it became our method. And then I had my own ways that I would do things, but I always had the problem children. So then season 2, the producers got us a house, a Arizona house nearby mine. So I was
not
just
literally
running,
your house.
No,
now
no
you get a
my
house for the show. That's nice.
And I then just ran people through. So I got back in, and then let me just say, long story short, I loved it at that, because what I was doing had nothing to do with diet and exercise. Yeah, it did. I mean, but anyone can figure out how to eat and how to work out, right? We all know how to lose weight. But actually helping them create behavioral patterns that they could stick to, and learning to love who they were, because I had been through my own eating disorder rehabilitation. My dad was an addict that went through rehabilitation, and all of these tools that Chris had a different set of tools. He's very sciencey and very creative, but still science and exercise, or diet and exercise, was his thing. Then to connect it with me, who was like, I love you unconditionally. We became a really wonderful team. He taught me what I knew, what I now know. I taught him some of the things that he does. And we very 2 different people. But I actually didn't become recertified, because I was certified years ago, until I was working inside of the show. And I'm like, crap, I better become a trainer again. Right. But I'm sure you guys say the same thing, but go ahead.
Staying with, because you've mentioned it now twice and I want to address it. Staying with the topic of eating disorders, mental handicaps, inside of fitness, specifically staying just there. It seems like this is a reoccurring story that we keep hearing here. And this is something people talk about a lot. Miguel Aguilar was in here. He was talking about it. It seems like body dysmorphia takes its own unique shape inside of fitness. What have you seen in that? I mean, beyond your own personal experience, I mean, is this something that you see somewhat often, that there is a problem with the way that fitness professionals and people who are in this at the trainer level, do they have body dysmorphia?
That's a really good question. Now, I can only speak to the people who I work around. And I feel like, because I lived such a reverse story where, although I'm susceptible to all of that, right? I feel like because my journey had people learning to lose weight by eating enough, and same for me, I had my own physical transformation in 2015, 16, 17, where I had to gain 20 pounds for a pro card, and that required eating a lot and learning how beautiful the body is, right? So when and my coach that I had for that was not about restriction. So I am not a restrictive person. You might look at me and think I'm not. I know how to master my metabolism. I know how to help people master their metabolism.
Amen.
I know how to retrain. So I don't think, and Chris isn't restrictive. So yes, I think many of the people that I'm around have had body dysmorphia, but I believe what can shift that, and what shifted it for me, and I'd be lying if I said there's still probably not a little bit of dysmorphia, but what shifted disordered eating for me and how I view my body is education. My eating disorder, and I think most people's, might stem from a lack of education and understanding that food does not make you fat, right? Number one.
Yes.
And there's 2 layers to this. Let me say, food does not make you fat. Excess food, or not even excess, a lot of food doesn't make you fat. Like, food and your body are such a beautiful combination. And when you know how to eat enough in the right macronutrient balance, it's such a beautiful thing. I can have donuts if I want. I can have pizza if I want. Now, I know how I feel when I eat donuts and pizza because of the gluten and the sugar. So I'm not always going to choose that, because now it's about how things make me feel.
Yeah. Avoid the crash and everything from the processed sugars.
Yes.
And yes.
And then I would say the other part of it is the people struggling with dysmorphia or eating disorders. And there's a handful of them listening to this right now.
Yes.
Guys and girls. It's not just a female issue, epidemic. It's male and female. What we found, and I think you guys would agree, is it's not the body that we actually want. Like, it's not that perfect body that we think we want. We don't really want that. What we really want is to be enough and to be accepted and to be powerful and to be recognized, or whatever it is. We, at the very lowest level or deepest core level, we want to be enough. And we think that by having that body or those muscles or that strength, or if I run, whatever it is, like we have a picture in our head based on how we were raised in our surroundings, cultural surroundings. We have a picture of what that looks like to be enough, but it's incorrect. And when we recognize it's just us trying to fill the void of our childhood wounds, and we can start working through those, it becomes no longer about how our body looks, and it becomes about how we feel. Does that make sense? But
It
yes.
does. I've also seen there's a big confusion, I think, between people who, I'll say, the reasons why people decide to train or diet in any way. There's internal and external reasons why people do things, and I've found that almost always the big adjustment I have to make with the minds of my clients is from external to internal, meaning someone wants to come in. I had a client literally just do this. He was here for, call it 4 months. He trained hard in preparation for this family vacation, went on the family vacation, came back, and he was kind of disgruntled, a little dismayed. I was like, what's up, man? I mean, you just got back from vacation, you're a little bummed about it. He's like, not one person there mentioned how great a shape I'm in. Not one person said anything. And immediately, I mean, I get that because he's dropped about 30 pounds. He's done really well. But the first thing I told him was, hey man, look, I validate what you're feeling. I get that. I've been there, but you got to know, you got to learn to be doing this for you, not for them ever. You can't do anything for other people because other people's opinions of how you're looking now, eventually they may say something, and I get that it feels good when they do, but your motivation must be more internal. You need to be doing this for you, for your own perception of yourself, not for other people's.
Yeah, it's the whole intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, right? It's like, and I think, in all the books that you read when you're being certified, it talks about that a lot. And it says, and I actually do believe most people are extrinsically motivated. And I don't think that's a bad thing, which means the external things or wanting to look good. And so one of the things that I always say is, I'm going to bring people in with what they think they want. And once they're in, I'm going to serve them what they really need. Because sometimes they don't even know how to focus on the internal thing. And that's why a trainer like you, are you guys trainers too? Okay.
I am not.
just me.
Yeah. Is so important because we can help shift what people want. But you are completely right. People do want that. And that's where the crash diets come from. That's why people will lose weight as fast as they can for their cruise, right? With celery juice cleanse. And sometimes it doesn't matter what a coach says, because in their mind, they know they want to get to that weight no matter what. And then they lose the weight, they do the cruise, they come back, and they are more upset than ever because they've gained weight. And yes, I love what you're saying. They don't get that validation or feedback that they want.
It almost always falls short.
Yeah. You had mentioned in the beginning, one of your frustrations as a personal trainer was, only having a small amount of time with each person, and then, seeing them go off, eat however they want, sleep however they want, and then come back into the gym and just kind of spinning that wheel. Fast forward to when you're working with extreme weight loss, the show, and you have people living with you. What was that dynamic switching from just being with people 30, 45 minutes in the gym to now they're in my house, now they live with me, and I'm really focused on that other 23 hours of what they do?
So interestingly, when I could control everything, it was great. Like, because they lost the weight, right? Like when I'm cutting their chicken for them and I'm giving them their meals and I'm actually running them in the morning, we're hiking, whatever. It was really wonderful for results, really wonderful for weight loss. But I will say the first 2 seasons of the show, Chris and I realized, like, we focused on weight loss. It was the numbers game, as we say. It was calories in, calories out. There wasn't a whole lot of focus on what would have them keep the weight off long term. So someone can control all 24 hours and they're going to lose weight. But when you let them back in their home, they're going to gain it all back because you never really, number one, gave them the tools to do it themselves. And number two, you never taught them how to love who they are. So 3, 4, and 5, because it was a 5-season show, we completely shifted how we did it. And it became more about teaching a man how to fish. Yeah, we're going to give you a fish, but while we teach you how to fish. And that's what I do in all my things now. I'll say, I hate meal plans. I'm going to
me too.
Yeah.
I hate them
what I will
so
do
much.
is I'll say, I will give you a 7-day meal plan that you can repeat while I teach you. So if you show up, so I can show you what this is. This is a carb cycling meal plan, but I'm going to teach you what a protein is, what a carb is, what a fat is. I'm going to teach you how to cycle them. I'm going to teach you what a balanced meal is. I'm going to teach you when you're going to add a fat at night. Like, I want to educate people so they know what it is, because that's where freedom is. And that's where longevity is. Like, even my coaching program that I do, I say, my goal is not to have you in the program forever. My goal is to have you in and have your hand held so I can teach you to become your own expert. That's what creates the lasting results. And so my method has completely changed, and in part because we learn from what we maybe didn't do as well as we could have early on. Seasons 1 and 2, we didn't. 3, 4, it got progressively better over time because we realized we needed to teach them the transformation game, which is your heart, mind, and soul, right? And with transformation, when you focus on transformation, the weight will stay off. Like, you can gear it toward anything. The numbers game, the weight loss game is very temporary. If anyone's focused on losing weight for extrinsic motivation or external reasons, they're going to gain it back probably.
It's not a deep enough reason.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
And there's a reason why someone got up to 600 pounds in the first place.
Yeah.
That person, heart, mind, and soul, that person is dealing with something and is wearing that. Not everybody can tell if you're hooked on Adderall or if you're, steady smoking crystal meth, at least not for a while. But if you are coping with whatever it is you're dealing with by eating your food, by, excess, and by not exercising and doing that over a period of years, we're going to see it on you. Finding out what that problem is, how important is that?
I mean, it's everything. Awareness is the key. It's the number one step to recovery in anything, right? So I think most people, unfortunately, sadly, I'll say, and maybe not chosen, but just because it's how it is, they walk around blind to their own issues anyway, right? Like, most of the people on the show would come sit in a room. So at casting week, we'd have 40 people that we dwindled down from thousands. They would come sit in a room with us. The final 40 we would choose by seasons 3, 4, and 5, we were doing 16 to 20 people a year. So we had a lot of So we were cutting it, and we had all 40 people. We said, we're going to cut this room in half. But what we would tell them is, you're not here because you love food. You're not. You're here because you have no integrity. What is integrity? It's doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Not just to anyone else, but to yourself. And you are struggling with integrity because there's something deeply rooted that needs healing that you have not yet addressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that seems like a reoccurring issue that seems to almost be getting worse. I mean, when was the last season of Extreme Weight Loss? What year?
So Extreme Weight Loss, the final season aired in, 2015.
Okay. So from 2015 to now.
Yeah.
I mean, obesity is on the rise. It seems like this show could be revamped right now and you would have millions of people qualified to be on it, not thousands. Is that something that you have seen happen as well? Is there a larger problem than there was before?
For sure. Interestingly, there is more of the landscape is much more overweight now than it was before. And I don't want to say like overweight or big is bad. However, unhealthy shortens the span of our life. So I know there's this really huge right now body positivity movement, right? Where everyone is like, I love my body at any size. And I think it's awesome to love your body at any size. But I am interested in taking this one body that I have, and anyone who comes to me, taking the one body that they have and extending the lifespan that we have. And in order to do so, we need to watch what we eat or just be aware of what we're eating and make healthier choices. We need to move our bodies because our bodies were made to do so. But I do think the body positivity movement is a huge reason. I also think, it's convenience. Everything has to, it's like Amazon, right? We want everything like same day. It's not even one day anymore. It's same day Amazon shipments. Life is like that. We don't want to get out of our house. I think COVID was hugely responsible for keeping people in our house and creating a really awesome connected virtual reality that we all have, like with each other. We can connect from wherever. And also, people just aren't getting up. They're not moving as much. So all of those things are going to contribute. I mean, the way foods are made too. It's like, yes, we have increasingly more healthy options and more awareness there, but also we have increasingly more unhealthy options that are a lot cheaper or perceived cheaper. I think we all know that healthy foods, a bag of potatoes is very cheap. So healthy eating is actually really cheap. But the way that, I mean, marketing rules, right? And if McDonald's or I don't even know. I don't go to any of these. I don't know who's marketing.
It's not even McDonald's anymore. It's not like, because everyone's known for a very long time
Uber
McDonald's
Eats
is unhealthy.
Yeah.
Everything is unhealthy.
Yep.
Every single thing out there is cooked in seed oil. Every single thing out there is, you have to really like intentionally, all right, I'm going to go to Pita Jungle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to order exactly like, in order to eat out, eating out is almost not an option today.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
And
if you're trying to be
I
healthy
agree.
and eat your correct food and get your macros, eating out is impossible almost.
Yeah.
And people do it so much, I think, because it's so easy and accessible rather than like having to source your own food or put together your own recipes. And I think we've been sold this lie of like comfort is going to equal happiness. And you have to go the extra mile when it comes to putting together food or working out or getting outside and getting movement. And I just think everything in our world has been made so convenient for us to consume that it's really, at the end of the day, hurting us.
I could not agree with you guys more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
And
Amen to that.
And the body positivity movement is not helping anybody.
Well, and
it's making it worse.
No, yeah. Here, I will say this. I'm very lucky, and you guys probably are too. My body awareness is awesome. And I didn't know this earlier in my life, but like if someone has an upset stomach, if you are gassy, it's not just the way your body is. And some people think, oh, this is just how I am. No, that is a sign that something you're putting in your body is agitating your digestive tract. And if you pull it out, you can actually feel good. And I went years not knowing that, like, oh my gosh, my stomach hurts. I guess I just have a bad stomach. No, it's foods tell you when your body doesn't like it. So I love when I eat out, 95% of the time, my stomach hurts. So I don't like to eat out because I don't like to not feel good. Right. So I have my internal, we all have an internal mechanism that says if what we're eating is right or not. Yeah. It's just a matter of listening.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. It sometimes feels frustrating because it's not as complicated as everybody seems to want to make it. Nutrition in general. You mentioned earlier, I hate meal plans. I hate meal plans too. Yes. I tell people I could give you the most in-depth, detail-oriented meal plan with exactly what it is that you're supposed to eat, but most likely you won't eat it.
No.
What are if you had to give basic general guidelines just to somebody be like, hey, listen, here's what I would do. I mean, this is a general way for you to eat. Eat these types of foods. Yeah. Don't eat these types of foods. In like 2 or 3 sentences. I mean, how would you phrase that for an average individual who wants to lose, let's say, 15, 20 pounds?
Well, let me say this. So a huge part of my philosophy and what I do is I am big on meeting people where they're at. So if you're eating 5, 6, 7,000 calories a day right now, and I could give you hey, here's my philosophy on nutrition, what you should do. The reality is if I tell them what to do, they're probably not going to be able to do it. So I always say it's a journey from A to B, then B to C, C to D, D to E, all the way to, I mean, some people stop at M, but it really is unique and individual to that person, where someone might already be at M because they're eating and they still have 15 pounds to lose. So for them, their journey might look like going from, carb cycling with whatever food is a protein, carb, fat, right? And actually going more real, whole, natural foods and going more why can't I think of this right now? But just all natural stuff, right? So I will meet my clients where they're at. I like teaching them basics of health because most of my audience came from the show. And so their step number 1 is like, okay, let's first log our foods and figure out what we're eating. Like, let's not change a thing. Because if we're going to build a house, for example,
And integrity,
we're not,
being honest about
that's
it. You said
Food
before.
logging and integrity is huge. But with that has to come a coach or accountability group that's not going to shame them. Because the second a coach or a trainer shames their client for what they're eating or how they housed a pizza last night, that client will forever lie to you. And that is like rule number one for me as a coach. I will never shame someone for telling, because if I can get them to tell me the truth, no matter how scary or ugly or messy that truth is, I can work with the truth. I can't work with someone who's going to lie and hide, right? But I have to be so safe that they can give me that truth. And then I can say, okay, what went wrong here? We have a 3-step process. It's confess, reassess, recommit. When you mess up, come confess. It can be to me. It can be to your super friend, whoever. Then let's say, what went wrong? How can we fix it? Okay, let's recommit tomorrow in a way that's going to keep us winning.
I could tell you're a parent.
I am. I got 4 kids.
And this is what you're saying is, if I'm being honest with myself, this is something I really need to work on as a coach, as a coach, because for me, I've had to really make this adjustment to myself. Just like the way, LeBron James can go play basketball at a certain level that 99.99% of people cannot do.
Yeah.
Not everybody, the world is not an even playing field.
You're right.
It seems like a lot of, like, at least my dad's generation really kind of impressed that, like, hey, listen, all you got to do is go out. The world is here. Everybody gets the same opportunity. You go out there and crush it. And while I understand the philosophy came from a place of trying to get you to pull yourself together and get some success, it's not true. It is not an even playing field. People are not on the same starting line. People deal with things very differently and struggle differently. Food is no different. Yeah. LeBron James can go out and score 60 points in a half. Some people, you have a very, very good body awareness. You know what to eat. You know how to do it. Same with me. Yeah. I don't ever have to do a shred ever. I can tone down my calories for 48 hours and I will get where I want, or the opposite. Most people aren't like that. Most people cannot do that. And I have had to really get to that place, and I'm still working on it, where, if my clients come in, like I a couple weeks ago, a client came in and started eating a corn dog from the QT right in front of me before we started training. And I unloaded on him. I'm like, what the hell are you doing right now? He's like, what? I didn't eat them. I'm like, did you really think you would come in here and I wasn't going to say something about that? Yeah. You're doing it in front of me. But that probably could have been handled a little bit differently. I probably could have said, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Tell me about what's going on
yourself. Like, I actually think some people want that in a coach, and they want that in a trainer. They want someone who's going to call them on their BS. I tend to have the people who come to me want to be people who are, like, they want to learn how to love who they are. They want to look good, but they want to look good because they don't want their spouse to leave them, right? And so for me, it's more about helping them be confident with all of who they are. And then learning to, like, hey, okay, now that we're confident, we love who we are, we can actually shapeshift it into whatever we want. And we're going to mess up because we are human. And I know for me, I felt like the kid who was always messing up, the kid and the adult, like the early adult. I feel like I didn't stop messing up every day of my life till I turned 40. And I still mess up a lot, but I had a lot of really hard lessons learned in my life. I did not have the same path as many people. And because of it, I was well aware that what I needed was to feel like when I effed up, I was okay. Like, I was going to make it through. I just needed someone to believe in me and to say, hey, you're perfect as you are. And, like, you're going to learn a really valuable lesson through it. And I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to walk with you through this mess. And so my methodology is much more that, right? But there's a need for all. My coach that I have for training that helped me get my pro card a handful of years ago, he's like you. And he's but I need that. When I'm going to stage and I have a goal, I do not want someone telling me I'm okay if I mess up. Like, in that, like, I know what I'm signing up for. I want someone whose name is on the line when I step on that stage and is going to be embarrassed if I don't look good. So they're going to make sure I do. Right. So I think there's a place for everybody.
And I think as a coach, usually we need to work in one of two directions. Some of us are much more of a drill sergeant, and we need to learn to, hey, I'm not dealing with somebody who's about to get on stage. I'm dealing with a 49-year-old woman who has had this problem for the last 10 years. I should probably be a little bit more understanding. Or I'm a little bit too soft of an individual.
Yeah.
This is a grown-ass man. He's eating a corn dog from the QT right in front of me. Are you an adult? How did you get here? Yell at him. Like that. You've got to be able to do both. I like to refer to it as sort of the chameleon coach. You need to be able to do that.
I completely agree. I do. And what's funny is on Extreme Weight Loss, Chris was the softy pushover. And he still is. If he and I are training next to each other, I am always the more tough love person. It's just because I'm a parent. He is now too. So he's probably a little tougher as a coach because he's got those kiddos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, especially in the setting of what we're talking about with extreme weight loss with those people, yes, I'm sure there's a common thread of trauma that runs through each and every one of them, but there's also a consistency of laziness. There is. I mean, there has to be. In order to get to that point, it's a mixture of both, I'm sure. And you've got to figure out the balance. You've got to find that. But yeah, sometimes you've got to be tough on those people. I mean, they said...
I love how you just go there.
It has to be. There has to be an element of both. To me.
Here I am. I'm like, okay, how can I make this sound really nice and cushy? I think naturally, when someone is used to sitting and watching TV, and they probably were raised that way, like to their credit, they were probably raised in a way that was how you did life, right? And so teaching them that there's another way to do it, right, that is more proactive, it does change things. But you are right. The more, the less active or proactive someone is, the more likely they are to gain the weight.
Yeah.
Was that nice?
Yeah.
Well played.
That's this well put. Better than how I did. We need both, and it's.
We do.
It's like the good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, I mean, we can't all be Jillian Michaels, but we've got to have a little bit of you've got to have some kick drive to it. There has to be.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
And I can get pretty hard on people. I really can. But it has to be somewhat like when one of my pet peeves is when someone says that they want something and they don't put forth the effort to get it. Like, I hate it. And then they show up and they're like, I can't figure out why I'm not losing weight. I'm eating my food perfectly. My thing is always like, okay, number one, bullshit. Because it's literal calories, right? It's calories in, calories out. If you are eating at a calorie deficit, scientifically, you're going to lose weight. You just are. And even if your metabolism is suppressed, we can get you on a machine that says what your metabolic rate is, and we can feed you. If you are eating those foods, you're going to lose weight, right? So I have a hard time with people lying, which is why, because I have such a hard time with people lying, if I wasn't a safe space to them for them to tell me the truth, I would just look like a bitch, like a female bitch, because I can be very tough. So
because it would cycle. They wouldn't be able to lose because they would keep lying, and they would come in and they would lie to you because they're gaining or not losing, and it kind of just keeps going around and around. So I understand that. You've got to create a safe space.
Or the pet peeve is I'm gaining weight because I'm not eating enough. I'm like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. But with those people, they're typically eyeball eating, so they may have suppressed their metabolism. Usually not, though. Usually they think they eyeball portion their foods, right? And so they think, oh, I had a few nuts, but it was just a handful from a jar over here. It's really handfuls of nuts that never went on their food log. They don't count it, right? Or their kid, they're making a mac and cheese from the pan doesn't count. So there's all these bites, licks, and tastes that add up that really are much more than bites, licks, and tastes. And people like to believe that they're, and then they like to believe that they're gaining weight because they're not eating enough. Then what I do as a coach is I'm like, okay, they're really overeating. They don't want to tell me, or they're not aware of it. And so what I do is I say, okay, how many calories do you think you're having? Probably only 800. Okay, I'm going to feed you 1,800 calories a day right now. Wait, what? That's too much. I've been told to eat 1,200. I will step them up to 1,800 calories a day or whatever it is.
But you cannot cheat.
Yeah, but I weave in the foods that they like. I believe in the 80-20 rule. 80% real, whole, natural, awesome, nutrient-dense foods. 20% the foods that you love. I don't care what it is, right?
Okay.
And if I can build that into their plan, they will adhere to it. They think I think they're eating more. They're actually eating less because they were eating 2,500, 3,000 calories because they're sneaking stuff around.
From the bites, licks, and tastes. Yeah.
Always lose weight because you're giving your body consistency too, which is really important.
What is your advice to men or women that come to you asking about like these get fit quick drugs like Ozempic, those type of things? What advice do you give to them when they ask you? I'm sure you get asked about it quite a bit.
Yeah. Good question.
This is actually a really good question. So naturally as a trainer, my first reaction as all of this was happening was, I'm not for it, right? Because I believe in creating lifestyle habits and blah, 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 blah. You guys probably talked about it a lot. Same thing. And also, I understand that there are some people who, if they can't get their food addiction under control, are going to die, right? There are some people with diabetes. There are, by the way, some of those things are actually used for like rheumatoid arthritis or inflammatory like autoimmune things. So oftentimes that's paired with obesity, right? So I understand, and I'm not going to judge. Same with lap band surgery. If someone wants to do it, what I would say, I'm not going to judge, number one. I will be a safe place for people, but research has shown that those kinds of things really only work when it's paired with coaching, paired with lifestyle habits. Like you cannot just inject yourself and starve yourself, lose hair. All these things are going to happen, right? And expect for the weight to stay out. It's not healthy. It's more unhealthy for you to inject yourself and starve yourself, like all what's happening to our organs and our body, all this kind of stuff, than for you to just live the way that you were living before. But if you're going to do it, pair yourself, for anyone listening, they need to pair themselves with a coach who can help make sure they're still eating enough, because that's an issue.
I'm hearing there are no shortcuts. Nope, there are no shortcuts. You have to eat enough. You have to learn how to change your habits, because the goal is not to be on those shots forever, right? The goal is to have something help you keep your cravings at bay. What you just said is my biggest concern with it. I wouldn't even say it's a critique. It's a concern. Do you plan to be on these pills forever? Do you plan for this to be a forever thing? Because most doctors are saying you can't be on this forever. I mean, I don't know how long an Ozempic prescription is meant to last, but you've got to change other things in order to keep that weight off. If you just do it and you drop 45 pounds, but nothing changed. And that's the problem I have with it. That's what I'm seeing most. I know people who have taken it, and I know how they live. They haven't changed. They're losing weight. They're in love with that drug because they're just, finally, I can live the way I want. I can look the way I want, and I can have them both simultaneously. And that is a sincerely dangerous lie.
And when
there's
stops,
no magic pill. There's no magic shot. No magic pill.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When it stops, and I know this from personal experience of people I know, when they stop doing it, they revert right back. If they haven't changed any of their lifestyle habits, they revert right back to where they were before. So
and I don't want to act like I understand the science of it, because I haven't done the research on it, but I would imagine, and I could be wrong, so you guys should tell me if I am, but I would imagine if you're doing the shot and you're starving, because what that's doing, it's an
appetite suppressant.
It increases your GLP-1, right? Or maybe it injects GLP-1. I don't know. But GLP-1 is a hormone that is an appetite suppressant, which, by the way, you can train your body to release GLP-1 naturally by eating certain foods. So if people knew that, but again, that's a lifestyle habit. That's something you have to change. Right. But I would imagine that if you're injecting yourself with this, that is an appetite suppressant, and you're starving, which is very similar to anorexia, right? And all we know what comes along with that. You're also suppressing your metabolism. So when you stop injecting yourself, yes, you gain the weight back, and usually more.
You get
because
worse.
Your metabolism now is not functioning the way it was when you were overeating. Overeating increases the metabolism, right? It does.
And think about the emotional toll of that swing.
Yes.
Going from I'm not happy to I found my answer, now I'm getting better, now I'm back, oh no, I'm worse. Yeah. Think about how that feels, looking in the mirror at those 3 different stages all within 100 days. Something like that. Yeah. And staying on it long term, again, I haven't done enough on it. It's again so relatively new that there isn't really much.
And that's what's scary.
I know you can't stay on it forever. I know that.
When there's not a lot of research around something, it is a little bit scary for me. And I haven't done all the research to know how much research there is. But yeah, if anyone's doing it, no shame, get a coach and make sure you're making the most of the time where your appetite is lower. Like, teach yourself now how to introduce healthy foods, nutrient dense foods. Teach yourself now to pull out all of the crap while you're not as hungry, right? That way, when you're done, you have these lifestyle habits built, and it's a little easier to kind of maintain, hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I think it certainly would be. But again, I feel like you should just start by getting a coach. You should start with that. You should not start by going to your pharmacist. No matter what it is. And I do think, I am not against supplementation for this type of thing. I mean, as a male or woman, but especially for men, for my male clients, in some of the cases where they are, maybe a little advanced in age, they have, hey man, go on TRT. Like, there's an example of something. You can be on TRT forever, as close to forever if you are done under the advice of a doctor, you are a qualifying candidate and you're doing it responsibly. It will help you lose weight, maintain and, grow muscle mass. Yeah. You will be able to shift your weight. Your pounds will go the way that you want them to. That's a good example of that. I just don't see the same logic with Ozempic.
Yeah, and I actually agree with you with testosterone or whatever it is. I don't think I'll ever be able to do it because I have thin hair. So even if my testosterone is off the charts low, I'm not about to lose any more hair than I've already lost.
Have you? I mean, you can couple it with a.
This is the hair guy.
Oh,
right
dude!
With a what?
Oh, I was okay. Let's go.
Wait,
I got you.
The
Okay.
DHT blocker.
So you can. How do we always get up and
you and Mark Harley talked to me about 30 minutes
is
about
there
it.
hair magic that I need?
Yeah, there is.
Right now, I don't think I have DHT because I have low testosterone.
I had low testosterone, and then I went on TRT, and I did it simultaneously around the time I decided to start growing out my hair about 3 years ago. And as it was going, I was noticing, I'm like, dude, I got like a soul patch on top. It looks like my hair is thinning. I don't like this whatsoever. So then I ended up doing research, going to my, the gal who does the TRT and everything. She's an MD, and she said, yeah, you're going to have to figure out how to deal with the DHT, which is, it's coming off the testosterone, and that's what's causing your thinning.
Yeah.
Nutrafol.
I take
specifically
it.
Nutrafol for men.
Okay.
Do you take Nutrafol for men?
No.
Because the only difference between Nutrafol for men and women, I believe, is that the Nutrafol for men carries the DHT blocker inside of it.
Okay, so I have the separate Nutrafol. I have the Nutrafol for women. They have a separate small container that says it's a DHT blocker.
The DHT blocker is in the one for men. It may be as simple as that. They just like combine the two.
And
biotin, all the stuff. So you can do. There are several different things you can do. You can do that. What I do is that.
Works for you?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you have so much hair.
I have.
Give me some.
I think I probably.
What?
I probably doubled the amount of hair that, and the gal who cuts my hair, she was like, you have like all this weird new growth coming in. This was like a year ago. So you can do what I found to be the best remedy by far is Nutrafol.
Okay.
Minoxidil.
I'm doing oral minoxidil now. I cannot do. I was doing the.
Don't do the topical. Do the oral, which
Just
is from the
started.
doctor, and then microneedling.
Okay, so I did microneedle. I haven't done one for about 6 months.
I'm talking you on yourself.
Yeah.
You get yourself either a derma roller or even better, get yourself an epi. It's called an EpiPen. It's not, but it's a little picture like a tattoo gun.
This is the most amazing.
But with like a big surface, and you will go. And I don't do my whole head.
Send me a link to
totally. It's on Amazon. $100 you can get one.
No.
I basically will find. I'll be like, okay, like here, and once a week I will just sort of hit it because a lot of it is circulatory.
Do you put medication on it?
No, nothing.
You're just agitating or waking up the blood because like the food can't get because of the.
No. You everything I take is oral, but then the microneedling is just something that's on the scalp.
Wow.
And
I'm so happy right now.
I've tripled my hair growth process.
Really?
I mean, this is almost about 3 years is where it's at. And I had a shaved head when I started.
Well, I feel like when you came to my doorstep, you had shorter hair.
Shorter hair, way shorter hair than I have now.
It's worth mentioning we're not sponsored by them either.
It is 100%. No, none of these.
By Nutrafol, no.
No,
we're
nothing.
Not. I'm not either.
Not sponsored by anyone. They're a good company though.
They
got a great
are.
thing. And if you are going to be, and I can say this as well, my testosterone is somewhere around 1,300.
Okay.
So
Okay.
my testosterone is high.
Wow.
My hair growth is good.
Okay.
And it's getting better. So you can have both. You
Okay.
just have to be aware that, I have to be consistent because in order for minoxidil to
Yeah.
work, you have to be on it for 6 months without stopping.
Okay, good to know.
So I don't know when you started
No,
minoxidil.
like 5 days ago.
Oh, you don't even bother looking in the mirror and like judging if it's working for at least 4 months.
Have you heard of I'm doing this thing called Alma Ted. Have you heard of it?
No,
I don't even know what it is.
I've never heard of
It's
it.
probably
Wait, it's not
a
the
waste
red
of
light thing,
money.
is it?
No, I have that. I have the laser hat.
The lazy. Oh gosh, I checked.
Is that in
think
Sky
I
Mall
know.
magazine?
I
I was always like, I wonder who buys these.
Who buys these things? And they always got some really attractive blonde, like wearing it, like, oh my head.
Yeah.
I didn't get it there, but I do have one of those. I've tried it all. And it doesn't help. I didn't have thick hair to begin with. And now I'm like, what the actual hell?
I really endorse this because I've seen it work with more people than just me.
Really?
I've recommended this little protocol to like 2 or 3 people,
Really?
guys and girls, and they're all like, dude, this is crazy. Like, it's working. It's
Oh,
really working.
okay.
It can, it's not, but it's such a commitment. I mean, especially men, most guys would just
Yeah.
as soon go bald.
See, I don't mind that. I'm really religious at taking my vitamins and doing all my things anyway.
I
so,
figured, yeah.
working out.
Why would
that's
you
easy.
not? That's the other thing too. If
Yeah.
you're a healthy person, why would you not care about the healthier hair, the healthier nails? Like, it's part of you.
Especially as a female.
Oh,
like, I'm like, what am I gonna do? How would I look with a bald head? I'm shitting this shit. Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
that's great. I'm so happy we talked about that. How in the world does this always come up?
You need to reach out to Nutrafol. Get
This
it,
might
dude.
help. This might help get us both in
They
there.
actually have a really great affiliate program, and you should go do it.
I should.
Yeah,
Seriously,
you
have
should.
you ever done anything with them as
I've done their affiliate program. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll definitely send you the EpiPen. You send me whoever contact for Nutrafol.
I will.
Let's do it. Heidi, thank you so much for coming on. This was seriously so great.
Oh.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is great. We
Thank
need to do it
you.
again. I mean, we right down the street. I don't see why
A
not.
hop, skip, and a jump.
Yep.
I loved it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
My
you guys
pleasure.
so
If
much.
anybody wants to like work with you or get in touch with you for coaching or any of the stuff we talked about today, how would that happen?
The best place is Instagram, Real Heidi Powell. I mean, if they
Are you
want-
you're still coaching today?
So I have a coaching program. I do coaching groups, and
Okay.
then I have coaches who coach other people. So
Got
I
it.
have and it's all my methodology. It's my program. But yeah, still going.
Perfect. And the best place to go and get in touch with that is
There we go.
Instagram.
That's my Insta.
Real. This is
Real.
important because anytime anybody's name starts with other than their name, Real Heidi Powell.
Not to be confused with fake Heidi Powell. It is real Heidi Powell.
I love it. Thank you so much, Heidi.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, good job, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching that episode of Becoming the 1% podcast. If you like the content and you want to see more of it, hit the like and subscribe. Activate that notification bell as well. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to see more of it, we actually have the Becoming the 1% Instagram, and the podcast is available on Spotify. For our socials, we have Strict Vision Athletics on Instagram, we have it on YouTube, and we have it on TikTok.